You're listening to a Brain Stew Fresh Fright review.
What's up, creeps, and welcome to another epic film, guys. Fresh Fright review. I'm Justin.
I'm BluBrry.
I'm waiting to be introduced.
Oh my god, are you
I was
serious?
sitting there too. I was like, "Did we introduce him? I thought we went over this last
I
episode."
told you on the last one, I'm no longer introducing you. Did you forget? At your age, do you have Alzheimer's? I
He wants
swear
the
to
fanfare. He wants the recognition.
Ladies and gentlemen,
he wants the drum roll.
boys and girls of all ages, the god of podcasting himself has returned to Epic Film, guys. Loy sauce.
All right, that's enough.
Was that good enough for you?
Serviceable.
People
I'll take
are,
it.
they're going to think that the episode is fucked up when they hear that long delay and go, oh, that's it. That's the review for
It's gonna be fucked up anyway.
Right.
the new Final Destination movie. I never thought that I would say that on a new episode of Epic Film, guys, because it's been almost 15 years. 2011 was the release of Final Destination 5, and here we are talking about a brand new entry in the franchise. And I have to say right off the bat, god damn, am I happy that these movies are back. I've said this for years. We've got our slashers, we've got our haunted house movies, we've got all different kinds of stuff, subgenres of horror that we get every year. But the Final Destination movies, much like the Saw movies, they used to be a staple every few years, and they kind of just vanished. And I said there's a huge void left. There's a gap that needs to be filled. And it has been filled as of right now on this recording night. The movie had a budget of around $50 million, and it's already done worldwide $100 million. And we've been talking about the year as a whole in terms of horror, guys. And this is a huge fucking win for the genre, like a massive win. And it's only getting started. This might even possibly take next weekend as well, and get another big load of money put in a dump truck and sent to the owners, or the studio, rather. So...
Not with Mission Impossible and Lilo and Stitch coming out, but I think it'll continue to do well. Word of mouth is good.
True.
Reviews are good.
Yeah, that's true. I forgot Lilo and Stitch is going to take over the fucking world for the next month, actually, because the word is it's very good. And I did see Mission Impossible Final Reckoning, and it was a blast. Loved it. Not as much as Fallout. It's still probably my favorite of the newer ones, but I thought it was a blast, and you'll probably get a review, maybe a bonus review of that one, but to push that aside, a bonus episode. But thank you very much to Paramount Pictures, actually, for using an Epic Film Guys quote on your social media. And to our fans, you may be seeing a little commercial with our branding in it soon, so keep your eyes peeled for that. Yeah, I was told by a little birdie. We'll see.
What is your favorite of the series?
My favorite, probably of the newer ones, is Fallout for sure. Yeah,
I think 3 has always been my favorite.
I'm a 3 defender.
Yeah.
Has the best villain.
Yep.
Can't get much better than Philip Seymour Hoffman.
Yeah, that's what always keeps me going back.
I like 3. I mean, it's kind of hard because unless you go back and rewatch all of them, but what the fuck are we doing? This is Final Destination, not Mission Impossible.
Sorry.
Yeah, no, it's all good. But like I said, huge success for horror over the weekend. And what we've been talking about on the show, a lot of newer original horror movies that have come out this year and not done so great, or just done very little. I mean, we're just talking about Clown in a Cornfield, which is our last review. That one has almost done 6 times its budget as of right now, so that's good for that movie. But when we talked about it, I didn't think it was going to do that well. It's just great to see horror thriving at the box office, and every year we say this, it's right up there with comic book movies, ladies and gentlemen. It's still a major factor, and it's a huge part of what people want to see at the movies. So keep churning these fucking things out, man, because we're all about it. We're going to talk about them and watch them, and that's what we're all about on Epic Film, guys. But here we are, Bloodlines, guys. Let's go around the room here. I'll start with you, Loisos. Did you rewatch any of the other movies leading up to this to prepare for this?
So I had seen the first three prior, and in order to catch up with the series before Bloodlines came out, I rewatched 1, 2, and 3, and watched for the first time 4 and 5. And then also I watched them with my partner who had never seen any of them. So it was a magical journey, to say the least. It's a pretty, and I'm sorry to interrupt, but it's a pretty consistent series. I mean, with the exception of the fourth one, which I think most fans would argue is the worst of the series.
Yeah.
It has its moments, but there is some god-awful acting and CGI in that movie. That's when they were showing off the 3-dimension throwing things at the camera things. And it's just they just throw a lot of CGI at you because they think that people are in the theater wearing glasses that obscure how shitty it looks. Or what, did it look shitty at the time? I don't know. I'm sure it did. But anyway.
Oh man, yeah, I didn't rewatch all of them. We had talked, Jeremy is a huge Final Destination fan. So over the past year or so, we had talked about maybe doing something Final Destination related. So I had revisited the first three within the past year. And I just, I don't really care for 4, as Brian eloquently put. I fall into the camp of everybody else who also thinks that it's dog shit. And then 5 is fine. But yeah, I don't know. One thing that I will say before I throw it to you, Justin, too, is one thing that stood out is at the whole franchise is the first one starts like super fucking serious. Like, it's very dark, and it's supposed to, you have some moments of comedic relief. Sean William Scott's in there, but there's more moments that you chuckle at, I think, than overtly comedic, and it's just interesting to see how the franchise has evolved that way.
I don't disagree with you at all. I remember being a massive fan of the first one. It's still right up there. I still can't determine, like, as of right now, I might need another watch through. But it's still my favorite, I think, kind of because of that tone, because it felt like it was trying to be more like a Hitchcockian thriller. And
Twilight Zone-esque.
Yeah. And then, of course, from there, they said, well, we know what worked from that. It's popcorn fluff. And then the second one, I'll never forget going to see it in theaters opening weekend with my friend Chad and my ex-girlfriend, Jen White, who is now dating Chad. Okay, let's all hang out together. It was totally cool at the time, whatever.
Yeah.
But we went to see it, and you instantly could tell that the tone had shifted slightly, and the tone has shifted even further and further into just straight fun gore fests in each movie. I did rewatch all of them, and falling in line with you both, I did not watch 4. I've seen 5 before. I think it's a blast of a movie. 2 was obviously a highlight because I saw that one in theaters. And then I really like 3. I think the opening of 3 is good. So yes, I tried to prepare myself as much as I could for this because, like I said in the opening of the episode, it's been almost 15 years. I don't know why I did not look into what caused the filmmakers, the writers, and the people that own this property to be like, nope, let's not make any more of those, because it really does feel like wasted space. Like, you could do a lot with this franchise. There's so many different ways to kill people in real life and have it be entertaining to an audience. And we see that here with Bloodlines. It's absolutely worth the wait, in my opinion. And it's absolutely worth continuing this franchise on. That's the main thing I said when I posted about this to our social media. Like, make a lot more of these movies. Seriously. Like, there's so much space you could cover. I mean, dude, you could have them on a fucking cruise. You can put them here, put them there. Like, dude, think about the opportunities there. But for those uninitiated that are fully unaware of what Bloodlines is about, Brady's about to tell you. But before that, I'm going to start trying to do this the best of my ability. Full fucking spoilers, because there's no way to talk about this movie without it. But be ready. Philemon in.
People die. Spoiler alert.
Ingloriously gory ways.
Final Destination Bloodlines, plagued by a recurring violent nightmare, a college student returns home to find one person who can break the cycle and save her family from the horrific fate that inevitably awaits them. It's short and sweet. It's,
Yeah. Sounds like a Final Destination movie.
And I'm just gonna pick up here. But man, that opening was great.
Holy shit.
Like I think, I thought going into this, like, all right, cool. It's, the sixth Final Destination movie. What are they going to do? Because I think you already talked about it. The first one is classic. You hadn't seen it before. The second one ups the ante and gives you that opening premonition that's just insane. And nobody can have a pile of logs past them on the highway now without thinking about it.
Absolutely.
And then 3 with the roller coaster was incredible too. So there's always this upping the ante, making it more bombastic, and I was very curious with how they would do that, and making it the Skyline restaurant be the opening. Whew, and that fucking kid, man. Brian, I know you're gonna agree with me. I have never wanted a child to get fucking brutally massacred in a movie more, I think, than this kid.
Penny Boy. That's what I'm gonna call him. Penny Boy. That little fucking prick, dude.
When the cop goes up, he's like, "Hey, man, don't throw the penny." He's like, "Oh, okay, yeah, sure, fat ass." I was like, "Wow,
dude, so politically incorrect."
Where are your parents?
I mean, I know we're not there yet, but treasure it.
Oh my god! Holy shit! This is the quickest.
And the reason why
resolution ever.
And the reason why is because we get to see a small child get crushed, and we see blood splatter, and I clapped in the theater. I
did
literally said
not only
yes,
that, but when he
clapped.
died, I turned my head to look to see the gleam in your fucking eye when he died.
There was actually a single tear rolled down Brian's cheek in the theater.
Yes.
And I saw him go to his letterbox, and he was like, "Pure cinema."
Martin Scorsese, that meme, like, absolute cinema. Yeah, pretty much. I mean, to your point, I mean, the way this film opens is so spectacular that the rest of the film doesn't quite live up to it. I mean, it almost makes you wish that the entire film was set in that time period, because the production design of taking place in the 1960s is so evocative. The music choices I thought were really excellent in this section in particular, because later on in the movie the music selection gets less excellent. But no, I thought it was a really strong way to open the movie, and again, like it serves really well as its own kind of short film, which these opening sequences always do. And I want to shout out the bridge sequence in part 5. The racetrack sequence in part 4 can eat a dick. It's so terrible.
This to me, this opening, guys, I wasn't prepared for this shit. My body was not ready with that shitty generic quote that everyone uses on Twitter. It's true though. I was not prepared for this at all. And what's been helping me so much lately is not watching trailers over and over again. Sorry, Superman. I've already watched that trailer like 100 fucking times, but that's slightly different. But I only saw this trailer once in passing, and I think it was at one of the Terror Tuesdays that I hosted, and I just saw it, like, half-ass watched it before I was prepping to come out and intro the movie that I was doing. And that helps me so much lately. Bring Her Back. We're going to talk about that this next episode as well. It helped me with that movie tremendously. I just love it. It's a great feeling to not know what you're going into, or you just give a basic idea instead of seeing like a million fucking ads and you see every scene, every death, all that stuff, like, just going in blind. I have a severe fear of heights. Every second they were going up the elevator, every moment on the top of that Skyview Tower, I felt it. I felt vertigo. I was gripping the edge of my seat, literally. I had shivers up my spine. And this is coming from me. I can tell that it's mostly CG. Yes, they're on a set, but yes, there's green screen around it. But I still felt it, and that's a sign of great filmmaking, because they were able to make you feel that feeling of actually being up there. When they actually go to the top of the tower, to the top of the sky view to like get a glimpse, I literally was about to go onto the floor because I was so scared of that. That terrified me, and no one had even gotten killed yet.
Did anybody else notice, since the three of us were also recorded this episode, did it seem oddly like Drop, the restaurant in Drop? that they were in. Like it felt
I
like
thought
the
of
same,
Drop.
the bar setup, the window setup. I thought that was interesting.
Absolutely. I mean, that movie definitely also made me feel that, but not to this degree, because I said this to Danielle. I turned to her and whispered, I said, I would never go up that fucking thing. You would never get me up that. No way. Ever. Like,
No.
Don't even care like how cool that would be at the time. Like, you could even tell that our main character, Iris, doesn't want to go up there. She's like, nope, screw this shit. I'm not going up there. She's excited to be there, but then when Paul's like, yeah, we're here at this opening ceremony, I got us in early, like I talked to a friend, blah blah blah. As soon as she's going up the elevator, you can just feel that. And I thought that we were going to see some crazy elevator shit, and that also scares me. Elevators terrify me. The glass floor beneath, oh my god, it's fucking nightmare fuel. And it's just imagery before anyone even dies, but and that's what I love about these movies. Even though the first is more Hitchcockian than the rest, still, it's the basic concept. Show the audience the bomb, and they know it's going to blow up. They just don't know when. And that's the whole premise of these movies. But you're going to see gloriously gory destruction and death.
Yeah, and I mean, like we said, the opening really does a great job with that. Like, they're up there, and Iris's boyfriend, Paul, proposes to her. They're excited. They're going to go get a drink. She, lets him know that she's pregnant. So there's all this stuff happening, a lot actually happening, like the first 10, 15 minutes. And then she
Gets you invested. It makes you care about
and that means Brian,
quick.
There's more than one child in danger. There's a couple of children there. There's one unborn child. There's Penny Boy. And there's another child there that we'll talk about in a little bit that connects to the entire franchise.
which I thought was really, really clever.
Loved it. Loved that.
Special shout out to a stunt performer, 71 years old, the oldest person set on fire on camera. It's the world record. It's been broken by Yvette Ferguson. So shouts out to Yvette Ferguson for being on fire in a pretty spectacular stunt in this amazing opening.
Insane.
Jesus Christ.
And we talked about this after we saw the movie, and we were debating if it was real or CG, because there's a lot of CG in the scene, right? But thank the movie gods to know that a 71-year-old woman was like, fuck it, I'm doing this shit for real. For the 6th Final Destination movie, I'll set myself on fire for that.
Hardcore.
Yeah.
She probably made like an agreement back in like 2011. Was like, oh yeah, I'll definitely set myself on fire if they ever make this again. She never thought they did. Here they are.
That contract you signed back then. Yeah, I know you're 71 now. You're not quite
Right.
as young, but yeah, you still.
They
gotta
actually
set
went to the
yourself on
retirement
fire.
home and they were like, hey, I'm really sorry about this, but this is a legally binding contract. No, I moving away from the opening, because I could spend probably the whole episode talking about that. But we get introduced to
and I'm sorry to interrupt,
No,
but
you're
if I had plunked down my cash to see that opening scene on the big screen and that was it, like that was the movie ended when the opening sequence ended, I feel like I would have gotten my money's worth, to be honest, because there's so many things. I mean, the essence of Final Destination is like distilled into that opening sequence, where you have great comedic timing, you have brutal deaths, you have great like cheer / like audience reaction moments. Like it's all there. So this was a really, really strong way to open. And it kind of, and again, like it was one of those things where it was like, I was so pumped when it ended that when it moved on to the rest of the movie, I was a little bit like, oh, like, just not to say that what followed it was bad, but it's just, it hits you right out of the
It's an all-timer. Absolutely. I mean, over 65, a rumored over 65 Skyview patrons die in that sequence, and all in the most epic fashion possible. And also, I have to say this, because there are a few characters that I love in this movie, and one of them is that fucking piano. I know it's not really a character, it's an inanimate object, but I love that fucking piano. It gave me some really amazing joy in that moment. But
That's
yes,
gonna be terrifying.
yes. Then we instantly find out, oh, that's a vision. That's what we have. It's a vision. It's actually, you don't really know right off the bat, is this real? Is this just her dreaming this up? But if you know these movies, you do know it's connected to something. It's legit. It's happening.
Yeah, I mean, and if you watch the trailer, you know that it's not all, unfortunately, set in the 60s. Although here we go. Can you talk about the intro?
Yeah.
I also agree. It'd be interesting to have kind of like one go back and do like a different decade and see how that goes. Like I would love to see something happen in the 60s. And I know that people are going to be like, oh, well, there's more interesting ways to die because of technology and things that are happening now,
Sure.
which, shows in this movie, but I think it'd be cool. But anyways, we get blasted into present day with our main character or other main lead, Stephanie, who is the granddaughter of Iris, who has these crazy fucking nightmares that she can actually see what happened that day. And she's ruining her roommate's life. She's flunking out of college, so she decides to go home and try to get some answers, which I thought was a decent segue into connecting this. It like you said, it kind of just deflates a bit here, but it was enough to move it along.
I found it weird that Iris never asked about her grandmother. Like, I thought that was like an odd. I mean, because the whole idea of this movie is that there's like a familial bond between all the characters, and that's meant to, I don't know, create a sense of stakes that we haven't really seen before, because these characters all know and love each other. So when they start getting picked off, there is a palpable, like fear and sadness of losing your family. So I understand that familial bond is what kind of kicks off the plot. But it is weird when she returns home and immediately she's like asking questions about her grandmother, like she's never thought to ask them before. You do get the sense that the family takes every opportunity to avoid talking about her.
It's true. And I think what it boils down to, Brian, is just pacing. I heard some other people argue that the pacing of the movie was a little bit too fast. But in my opinion, if it were slower and we got more time for development, it would take longer to get to the cool shit, like the deaths.
It's almost a 2-hour movie.
Yeah,
so...
it's a longer movie. So, I mean, but to get things moving forward, you are correct that as soon as she gets home from school, which is like the first, after we get to present day, very quickly, she's already walking in the door. She says hi to her dad, and then she's like, oh, yeah, I asking about her grandmother. She goes over to her uncle's house. Instantly, within minutes, she's asking her aunt, her uncle about Iris. So, I mean, but it moves things forward, and I think it gets to the stuff that matters more. But we get to see a lot of the family dynamic throughout the movie, and I think it works very, very well. I like that it does do a fresh take on, like, who's being affected by this one family, rather than it just being a group of friends. So I thought that was kind of cool. Obviously, it makes sense with the title. It's so funny.
Right.
Someone say, have you ever seen a good movie with bloodlines in the title? And I said, yeah, I just watched one tonight. And it was this one. I think it's the only one.
Hellraiser bloodlines?
Yes. Ugh. There's a bunch of movies with bloodlines in the title. I don't even remember all the ones that have it. But so, yeah, you are correct.
At least this one isn't called Final Destination, the Final Chapter.
Oh, my God.
Well, they know that they're probably hoping to make more of these.
The thing that I liked about this movie, too, is that it didn't go the reboot avenue. It is a proper 6th installment.
It is.
And we get when we're introduced to Iris, and I know I made a mistake earlier. I meant to say Stephanie is asking about Iris. Yeah. But anyway, I wanted to clear that up. But when we finally meet Iris, it's pretty crazy because she basically lives in a fucking fortress.
How impressive is that setup, man? Holy shit.
She's closed herself off to the outside world and is so fearful of death that she's basically like isolated herself into this, like, there's like a parapet with like spikes coming out, and I'm like, this looks like a bit of a death trap in and of itself.
Right. I was like, man, how does that make you feel safe when you know that any of these could just like, slightly come off balance and kill you? I also thought a lot about how this reminded me of David Gordon Greed's Halloween 2018 with Laurie and her fortress. And, this is definitely more Mad Max-ish.
Absolutely.
But also the same vibe as like, she's this parent that overprotected her children to the point of like social services taking them away. So
and
I know
creating a lot of like familial dysfunction.
Right.
As a result.
So I thought that was interesting too. And then I started looking at this thing has been in development for a while. So
long time. Yeah.
It would have been around the same time that these ideas were coming out. Just funny how that stuff works. But yeah, I also thought the same thing, Brian, because there are times where Iris, when Stephanie finally gets there and Iris opens the door, she's like, talking to death because the minute has she never opened that fucking door? Like it's like she cracks that door and Death's like, oh, here we fucking go. And like she moves a glass and the glare starts hitting the plants. Then she moves that and she's like talking to Death. And I mean, it worked in the sense that, it made Stephanie think that she was crazy. And you as the audience know that she's not.
And I found that very humorous too, actually.
But I was like, man, like Death has just been literally waiting at the door for her to open it up and let her guard down.
Also, I was just curious, like, is she getting like Walmart all the way out there to deliver her groceries?
Probably like Instacart, yeah.
Does she have them like? How does she get her food? I don't know. I'm thinking of like logistics and realism when I shouldn't be. But I was just, how is she surviving out there?
She may be a prepper. She could have canned a bunch of stuff. She could have a bunch of grains back there. I mean, she has a small pond. I would say small pond.
Rice.
Yeah, but she has apparently like an ocean in her front yard. Which we'll get to later.
Well, yeah,
more like a swamp.
Before we get there, I have to say,
a marsh.
I do like that it built up the Iris character. We met her in the opening from back in the day, and then we see this aura surrounding the family and like this black sheep that is surrounding it, even to the point where Stephanie's mother, Stephanie and Charlie's mother, has left, based on what she had to go through and how she felt like she was going to be a bad mother and a bad influence and didn't want to put them in danger. So I like that it built up the character. So when we get there and we actually meet the character, who's played by Gabrielle Rose, who I thought was fantastic as the old Irish. She's very good. She's only in the movie for like fucking 10 minutes, spoiler alert, but I thought she was very good and I liked the build up to it. I really did.
Yeah, I mean, I guess you could see what was coming a mile away.
Sure,
when
absolutely.
She steps out there to give Stephanie the book. Her death, I think, was the least impactful, I guess. Like when it happened, like, all right, this is gonna happen. When Stephanie has like a vision of it again or remembers it like from PTSD later, like that one made me jump. But the first one, I was like, all right, well, this is what's gonna happen.
Yeah, she gets impaled through the mouth by a weather vane.
Yeah.
But
yeah,
I liked the build up to it, but it also showed you had some compassion for the character because you could see that her humanity was coming through, that she no longer cared. She also knew, spoiler alert again, that she was dying. She had cancer and she had much longer to live. And you could see finally that connection. Like, I want to give my granddaughter this book that I've put together, which once again, we're talking about mythology connected to Final Destination. I thought that book was very clever, that this is something that they introduced, that she's put together this whole fucking book with all these examples with drawings and descriptions of like how you could possibly die. So you could just look through it and go, well, if I'm here, I could die this many ways.
Yeah, I really would have wanted to be handed like a flash drive or something though. Like she, in all her spare time, probably could have scanned it.
Come on, dude. It's a book. It makes an old school feeling. Are you serious? You're a guy that reads books. That's way cooler.
I would have dropped something. So many of those pages were loose or filled in or falling out. I mean, you spill coffee on it. Like you miss a whole bloodline. So I don't know. It's
I guess.
It was fine.
It's kind of hearkening back to like, scenes where characters are researching something supernatural out of a spooky old book in a library. Like it reminded me a lot of that kind of. And again, I want to applaud this movie because, it's taking place in modern day and it's dealing with. It's centered around young adult characters, but there's no like. Surly teenagers on their phones or doing TikTok dances or saying Skibbity Ohio Rizzler or anything like that. Like it felt
what in the
very
actual
classic.
fuck is that, Brian?
What the Sigma? I don't know. It's
okay.
Gen Alpha.
I'm so fucking old.
Lingo.
Right.
I'm extremely old. I'm sure that lingo's outdated already, but it's the slang of the day. But it felt classic is what I mean. Like it feels like it fits into this franchise really smoothly. And profanity is at a minimum. I know we sound like broken records every time we review a horror movie, but it was refreshing to have a movie where not every single, there were a couple fucks here and there, but it wasn't overdone like we've talked about recently.
No, yeah. Insert smattering of applause here.
And it was co-written by Guy Busick, who has written a lot of films for Radio Silence, like Scream 5 and 6, Ready or Not, and Abigail. And my problem with all of those films is the dialogue and just how repetitive the dialogue is. and how they managed to like recycle, or not recycle, but replace wit with just profanity.
Fuck.
And I felt like that was not the
Shit.
case in this movie. There's actually a lot of really clever little lines in here, and I don't know who contributed those, if it was the other screenwriters attached to this movie, but I mean, I'm not saying this is the wittiest script out there, or even, you know, the best script. But it's solid.
Yeah, no,
it's like
absolutely
really solid.
I agree. I applaud it for that as well. I watched a movie recently. We did not review it on the show. We will not be reviewing it on the show, but the new Josh Hartnett, John Wick actioner, Fight or Flight. I watched the movie all the way through, and it was what it was. Josh Hartnett with bleach blonde tips, looking hot as fuck, beating the fuck out of murdering people.
Best part of it was the hair.
But it was absolutely the best part. And in the first 20 minutes, I shit you not, I counted over 30 fucks. That's how bad it was. And that's how, when you see a movie with even decent screenwriting talent behind it, you can tell the difference. It's an immediate impact. But moving forward, we find out that in this movie, when Stephanie goes to see Iris, that the Final Destination formula, if you will, is slightly different. Since Iris cheated death, as a result, death began killing all the survivors in the order they would have died, along with all of their descendants. So this is a family situation now. This isn't just like, oh man, I'm going to get killed. My kids, my son, my brother-in-law, everyone else is good. Nope. At this point, if you're of the bloodline, you're going to die based on this. So I thought that was a really interesting perspective to have, to kind of switch it up a little bit.
Yeah, and it plays into why she, you know, has hidden herself away and been a recluse for so long, because she was trying to protect her family, not just herself.
Yeah. And of course, moving forward, we have Iris's funeral, who surprisingly everyone shows up, including Darlene, even though everyone apparently hated this woman. They're all there, and they're all ready to have a great fucking time with a barbecue. Let's get wasted, basically. It always reminds me of Silent Night, Deadly Night, where the store owner's like, it's 7:00, time to get shit-faced. And then everyone just starts pounding fucking drinks. But in this scene, we see, of course, they're presenting possible death. We see a piece of glass. We see, you know, the possibility of the grill blowing up. Like, there's so many different little things that are like, oh, what's it going to be?
The rake under the trampoline.
The rake under the trampoline.
This is like,
yeah.
Again, it's like classic Final Destination stuff where you can, I mean, they plant little things and you can foresee how someone might die. And you're just on pins and needles, so to speak, the entire scene, just like waiting for it to happen. And I mean, that's the secret sauce of these movies. It's just like that suspense, that sustained suspense, and also like the humor of the movie, kind of you know, swerving and weaving and giving you something that you don't expect, or someone dying a completely different way than you anticipated.
Absolutely. I thought there was a lot of suspense in the scene of the barbecue. I also thought it was hilarious how happy everyone was. Like, well, they must have really hated,
right after a funeral.
They must have really hated this woman. Seriously, hated her enough that, you know, they're welcoming back Darlene, who left, I guess, when they said when Stephanie was like 10 years old, and now she's like in college.
And poor Marty, man, Stephanie's dad, like, you know, so Darlene shows up in an RV to the funeral, which it's her mom, I get, but then they invite her to the barbecue and he's just playing fucking lawn Jenga, and in walks his ex-wife, and everybody's like, oh, thank God you're here. And he's like, oh, okay.
You know, I felt
cool,
worse for him,
fuck
actually.
me, I guess.
Dude, you know
I
what?
did too.
That's the least amount of character development we got for anybody. Clearly, he's not part of the actual quote-unquote bloodline, so they were like, we don't really have to put much stake into him. But I felt terrible, like, they didn't have a conversation. There wasn't a moment of them being like, you know, I understand why you left. Nothing. None of that. Like, he's just standing there drinking a fucking beer in the backyard while his ex-wife, who left him 10 years before, is just sitting there on a fucking porch swing. Like, yeah, I'm just hanging out here, dude. Yep, I shouldn't be here, but I'm still going to stay. It was such a weird thing, like the most awkward thing. I know it's not the most important part to develop in the story. But come on, man, you could have had them saying something like, "I'm sorry, I left,"
I
a hug or
I do
something.
think with some I do think with some fine tuning, familial bond between the characters could have been a little bit more credible, because there was a lot of uh, stuff like that, just like things that kind of felt off or awkward. And I don't know how much of that is the script. A lot of the acting sometimes felt a little bit off, like they were acting in separate scenes together. It felt I don't know if you all got this vibe of just like, man, like maybe the direction could have been tighter, or there could have been a different take that they could have used here and there.
Maybe some more experience. I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I felt that way, especially when you get into the brother and sister. I just they never felt like brother and sister. At first I was like, are they dating? Like the two blonde kids? I was like, are they fucking? And then I was like, oh no, they're brother and sister. And I was like, but they don't act like brother
Is
and
she
sister.
is she his mom?
Yeah, I didn't know what was happening. But anyways, Howard's death is fine. It's
I liked
gory,
it.
it's
We've
bloody.
we've seen lawnmower deaths before, and if you have seen the trailer, that was the one thing that stuck out to me when I did see it the one time that I paid attention. I go, "Oh, we're gonna get another lawnmower death." I thought it was shocking enough. I mean, this whole family just dealt with the death of someone they didn't really care much about, but now they're going to witness a death of a guy that seemed pretty fucking nice, man. I mean, right now, Howard seemed nice. He wanted to shield his niece from being affected by Iris, and it seemed like he's out there mowing the lawn. He's out there, let's all get together. He's offering his sister that he hasn't seen in 10 years to sleep in his guest bedroom, and shit. He seems like a very nice guy. Let's have a drink together. He does a speech. So yeah, I felt kind of bad when he got fucking ruined by a lawnmower in front of his whole family.
But it also leads into, I think, one of my favorite sequences in the movie, which doesn't feature a death, is actually Eric at the tattoo shop.
Oh my fucking God, Brady. Dude, I just have to ask you this because before you go any further,
Yeah.
Doesn't he remind you of like all of us? Like he feels like every friend I had back in that, like in the early mid 2000s. Like I'm like, I knew 100 Erics. And it's so interesting because I see so many people on social media all proclaiming he's the best character of the movie, and I have to kind of agree. I fucking loved him. He felt like all those dudes I used to hang out with back in the day, in the band days, and he's super relatable, and he's funny too. But I loved this scene very, very much.
Yeah, no, it was great. And, he doesn't die. And I think you kind of knew he wasn't going to die in it, because if you did see the trailer, you see that, context clues, he lives a little longer. But then Stephanie
I
is,
didn't pick up on that. I didn't remember. And
Oh.
so when the scene cuts and moves on to the next scene, I was really confused. I was like, "There's no way you can have a Final Destination movie and have an off-screen kill." I remember that, like that feeling of like something's
That's
wrong.
sacrilege,
like, I felt
man. You
so
can't do
deflated.
that.
It is sacrilege. I should have known better, of course. But I mean, I got to give the movie credit for like throwing me for a loop for one moment.
I have to talk about it because I've had a septum piercing since I was 18 years old. In the movie, the character Eric has a huge septum piercing. A fire starts in the tattoo shop. He's sitting there tattooing dad on his arm, which connects to something kind of funny later on we'll talk about. And then, of course, these chains. I've been to tattoo shops and in like goth bars and shit where they have chains hanging from the ceiling, so that's not out of the ordinary. And the chain comes down and like hooks to his septum ring, and he's trying not to like have it pull him up into the fan. I'm telling you, man, if you have piercings on your face or anywhere else, which I've had my whole life, that's a fear of having that shit ripped out. And of course, we see something happen much later in the movie, but being pulled up by your septum ring. I mean, every girl at the fucking grocery store that's, cashing me out now has a septum ring. My daughter has one. It's like super trendy to have one. But just that feeling of having that ripped out, I loved that scene because it just played with your fear. Like of a very small basic pain, but sometimes those basic tiny pains are the worst ones.
Yeah.
And all of these sequences, from the very beginning of the franchise have been, most likely improbable. in this one in particular, they're improbable. They're not entirely impossible either. They're just over the top enough. Because the franchise is all about how creative death is. So the thrill of these movies is seeing how these elaborate Rube Goldberg machine kills are played out. It's like setting up a bunch of dominoes and then knocking over the dominoes. Like, it's just that it taps into something very primal as a human being.
Yeah. So the next day, Stephanie and Charlie, they're like, Stephanie wakes up Charlie and she's like, "Have you heard from Eric?" "No." And they rush over there. He's just fucking walking down the street
with a firefighter shirt on. Did you catch that too?
I did catch it. It had the logo on the in the chest there, and he's just like, playing it off like she's crazy. They all think that she's nuts, and I love that. I love so much in these movies where they think that the person is nuts for thinking everyone's gonna die, because she already presented them at that point with the entire plan, like how people are gonna die, and they're just like, "Nope, not happening. You're just nuts. You're out of your fucking mind." I'm shocked that no one tried to put her into a fucking psychiatric hospital or something, but it doesn't happen.
They all just seemed, I think, caught up in their own grief, or just not caring about her, because she had been away for so long. But I will say my favorite kill has to be this one that happens here.
Is it really?
Because she is so caught up that Eric is going to be the one who's next in line and killed. So she basically tells him how it's going to happen as they're walking. Like, the soccer ball is going to get kicked because the leaf blower and then the limb cutter is going to fall. And he's like, "Oh, nothing's happened." And he's like, licking the garbage truck, which was gross in itself. But then Julia, the sister, comes running out, and she has some snide ass comment, and she starts running in the background, and the shit happens to her, and she gets put into the garbage truck. And I fucking loved it. Like the scene where it just crushes her head. Because the whole time, I don't know if you guys did, but the whole time I'm thinking, all right, well, if Eric is next, then they're both going to have to die in this sequence, right? Because something's going to happen where Eric gets in front of the truck, or it gets killed in some awful way right as she dies, right? Like there's that 1-2. But nope, she just gets fucking crushed, because we find out
quickly after
Eric was a love child.
Nope, sorry, man. You just tattooed Dad on your arm, and Howard wasn't your dad.
And I love it where he's like, "Who was it?" And the mom tells him, and he's like, "Is that why he always wanted to play catch?"
As they're leaving the room. Yeah. I loved that moment. You need some levity in these movies. You really do. I think when you're seeing all these deaths, and I mentioned this to you, Brian, when we were watching the movie, I'm like, the one thing these movies are always missing is mourning. I get you can't take much time for anyone dying, but it's like, my husband just died and my daughter died brutally. My mom died, whoever it may be. And they're just like, okay, we're just going to talk about what's happening and then move along, which is what these movies need to have happen. But still, I always find it hilarious that there's a funeral and the next day they're like, "Oh, we're just hanging on, living life,
having a barbecue."
Yep.
Jumping on a trampoline.
But
they had 2 or 3 funeral scenes in a quick succession in this film, and I thought it would be a really funny gag if they just had, if every single time there was a death there was another funeral scene. It just cut to them at the graveyard. I thought that would be just a really great running
let's
gag.
Be clear,
you don't have time for it's pacing.
Nothing will ever beat the funeral scene from part 3, the tanning bed death, where it's like an overhead shot of the tanning beds after both of the girls are fried, and then it just quickly switches to the 2 coffins. Caskets.
Yeah. I mean, it's one of the best match cuts in cinematic history.
Absolutely.
Absolute
cinema. 2001: A Space Odyssey, Final Destination 3.
There it is.
Wow.
Peas in a pod, man, for sure. So yeah, we moving forward in this now, we kind of get the idea that we know who's next on the list. They have this formula down, Stephanie saying, "This is what's going to happen, blah, blah, blah." We know this part of the story. They do this in almost all these movies. They figure out the formula. They think they know what's right. And they decide to go to a hospital and talk to a guy. Was it JB? They said the name, right? Mm-hmm. And they're like, "We're just going to randomly drive an hour to talk to this guy," not even knowing if he still fucking works there. And they go, and we get probably, I would dare say, one of the most emotional scenes I've experienced in a movie this year. and it's a short scene. Brian, you almost fucking missed it because you went to the bathroom. But horror icon.
I caught it.
Horror fucking icon. Dude, Tony Todd. Rest in peace. He just died recently. This was his last performance on film, and it's a beautiful one. Seriously, I can't say enough. And the dialogue. I don't know how much they knew at the time. I assume they knew because when you see him on screen, he looks rough. You know, he looks pretty peaked. He looks really thin. He doesn't look like himself, but he delivers the lines with just so much gravitas. It's beautiful. It's probably like, I think my favorite thing he's ever done in this whole franchise. Absolutely. Especially his last line. If you haven't seen it, ladies and gentlemen, just make sure to see the movie because it's just an amazing moment. But they go to like find answers from this guy. They don't like the answers they get from him, but then it leads to 2 more amazing deaths.
That's true. I do agree with you. I do think it's a genuinely touching send-off for a horror legend. You know, in a franchise about death, with a point of view about death that's played for either scares or laughs, this really brought a bit of poignancy to the franchise. In a way, I feel like this film is kind of the connective tissue that connects all the films because of his character and because of the way you have the opening sequence in which it's revealed that well, again, I don't want to spoil it too much, but
you can if you want.
We're in spoilers, but my point being, like, the fact that it kind of manages without overdoing it, kind of wrapping the whole series up in a bow.
Yeah, absolutely. And connecting everything right to the first movie. So beautifully done. I'm so glad he was still around to be able to do this because it's a great, finale to his career. Absolutely. He loved being a part of this franchise, even though he's only usually in one scene in each movie or it's a voiceover or whatever, but just great to see him here. I know that a lot of horror fans feel the same way. So RIP Tony Todd, absolutely a legend. Seriously, like I couldn't believe it. Like I was starting to cry in a Final Destination movie. So, never thought that would happen. But then, of course, we get an amazing death here. So Eric realizes that he's not part of the bloodline. So he's like, all right, dude. He's talking to his brother. He's like, they find out if you die and come back to life, whatever the fuck, like you can push it along or whatever they said. So,
or if you kill another person, it bumps death off the trail, or
which we've seen before. We've seen that before.
You get there, but he said like you get how much time they have left.
Right, exactly.
Right.
Yeah.
Which, like, none of these rules mean anything. It's so arbitrary, and they all change from movie to movie, from scene to scene. So it doesn't fucking matter.
If you kill a baby on a Tuesday, you get to live an extra.
Shit.
That moment where they look at the baby.
Believe we had a moment where they contemplate murdering babies, and they're like, "Just kidding." Like, no, we couldn't.
But they think about it. It's more than a second. They think about murdering a newborn baby.
Don't touch that baby.
There's also a really funny moment earlier on where one of the characters knows that he's next, and all of the other characters try to like protect him. So there's a part where they take him to they're taking him to the car, and they're like really gingerly like, okay, like, watch your head. They're all just like, this movie plays with the conventions and the tropes and the rules of the series and uses it to like a real comedic advantage. Like they thought of everything when they were writing this.
Yeah. Mentioned earlier, Eric escapes death in the tattoo shop, but here he thinks he's going to help Bobby by giving him peanut butter cups because he's got a peanut allergy, and then he'll bring him back to life with his EpiPen. That doesn't happen because the MRI machine, and now we see the piercings, a lot of them, the septum, the nipples, and the dick.
The Prince Albert.
Oh my God, this was so fun to watch, so inventive, and so like visually done in a way where I just thought it was so entertaining and so exciting. He basically, his whole body gets crushed into this MRI machine.
Yeah, no, I
Which,
think
like,
it's. Go ahead.
Would it happen exactly that way? Probably not.
No,
But it makes for a really entertaining kill.
it's a movie.
Yeah, because it's what it's crushing his body while it's also impaling him, right? Because it ends up poking through.
Oh yeah, it rips right through his fucking chest.
And
Oh,
poor Bobby, man, like, and because you know it's happening, but there's that tension that builds up as he's crawling towards his dead brother's hand to get the EpiPen. He does it. The nurse opens the door and she's like, "Oh my god, are you okay?" He said, "Yeah, I'm okay." And the spring from the vending machine just goes flying through his fucking head.
head impaled, boom, done. In all reality, he's like the nicest character in the whole movie. He really is.
Yes.
He's just like, I'm gonna jump on the trampoline, guys. Come hang out. Like, he's so nice. What is on his hoodie, Brian? You commented on that. I don't know. Was it like cartoon characters or like anime
He
characters?
always has some kind of cartoon rabbit on his on his shirt.
He's also like 35 years old.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was like, what are you?
Yeah,
I was wondering if he had like the mind of a child a little bit. But yeah, he's wearing like a Usagi Yojimbo shirt, like the samurai rabbit comic book
guy.
character.
I'm just glad that Paco survived. I'm glad nothing bad happened to the turtle.
yeah. No, the turtle is one of my favorite characters as well.
the tortoise.
That's
I'm
right,
sorry, the
tortoise. That's right. Danielle turned.
I'm so sorry.
Brady, the movie ends, right? The credits come up, and Danielle turns to me and Brian and goes, "That wasn't a turtle. They called it a turtle. It's a tortoise." That's the first thing she fucking said. I was like, "Oh, yeah, you're right, babe. It's a tortoise. You're right. It's a tortoise." Outside of that hospital, though, moving forward, Darlene gets hers. I would say probably not the most epic fashion for a character that apparently, these kids loathed for so many years for leaving them. I don't know. I felt like it could have been a little more impactful, but
Hey, she got what she deserved.
Yeah.
Shouldn't have left.
True. Very true. Then they decide they're like, we have to go. The whole idea of we have to go back to Iris's cabin because we'll be safe there. She lasted there for 30 fucking however, or 40 whatever years it was. We have to go there. They go there. And it's a pretty epic sequence. I think it's really filled with tension. I love this setting because I commented this to you, Brian, well, after we saw the movie. It's a real fucking set, dude. They built this thing. This was not all CG. You could tell that they built this out on a lot somewhere in front of the mountains. Gorgeous cinematography when you see this thing during the day, but at night too, when they get there and the whole thing explodes, it's just really epic in a big way.
They blew up.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely blew it up for real. So I thought that was really cool. And so at this point, Stephanie's drowning. She can't get out of her seatbelt when this camper, falls over on its side. And I noticed that water earlier in the movie. There's like a small little pond in the middle of the yard there or whatever. And that comes back into play at the end here. And of course, Charlie, quote unquote, saves Stephanie.
Man, he fucked his finger up though.
He did. He did fuck.
We went with our friend Ann came out with us to watch it, and she's a nurse, and the entire sequence she's like, he needs to take care of his hand. So when they're walking away, she's like, I'm more concerned about his finger. Like, that thing was almost cut off.
True.
I just watched Novocaine, and I had so much anxiety throughout the movie because there's a part where like Jack Quaid has like an arrow that is like poking through his leg, and he has a guy in like a leg lock, like he has his legs on either side of the guy's head, and then he pushes the arrow that's sticking out of his leg into the guy's head and through his other leg. And I'm like, I'm worried about like diseases and like wound contamination.
Right.
And
Of course you would.
These are not the movies for us.
Well, I mean, the movie has like a somewhat lighthearted tone, but then you see all this gruesome graphic violence and you're like, I don't know how to feel about this. But yeah.
I felt the same way about Charlie's finger, but Charlie gives Stephanie CPR, brings her back, supposedly saves her, much like Kimberly in the previous film. And then it's, everything's nice out. Charlie's taking his girlfriend, or trying to be girlfriend.
I think trying to be to prom.
To prom.
What I thought was so hilarious about this is Stephanie shows up. Stephanie and Charlie's dad there. And the girl he's dating's dad is a doctor, and he comes out and just like, yeah, Charlie saved my life. He saved Stephanie's life. And he's like, but did you really?
Yeah, I love how he's just a fucking dick about it too.
He's
where
like,
he's like,
really
oh, I heard your
didn't."
story.
Yeah, he's like, if you just went unconscious and then he brought you back, you didn't really die, did you? Enjoy the prom, guys. Walks away, and I'm like, here we go. And this is where I am so fucking happy. I almost jumped out of my seat, guys, because we saw all the marketing for this movie using the log truck. And I was like, cool that you're using it. We've seen it, in part 2. We've seen it in other instances in the franchise. But I'm like, don't you dare show me that log truck and not fucking use it. And it uses it in spectacular fashion. Holy shit. Not only that, but the return of a train, too. Yep. The return of a train from the first movie.
And the penny.
Yeah, and the penny. So amazing, epic ending. Huge crowd pleaser. Spoiler alert, ladies and gentlemen. If you've stayed this long, Stephanie and Charlie get crushed by a fucking log. They're dead.
It's definitely a mic drop of an ending.
Yeah, I loved this ending. Holy shit. Like, there's nothing more crowd pleasing than that. And then I'm walking out and I'm going, should I feel bad that I get joy out of watching people get brutally slaughtered on screen? No, I shouldn't. I love it.
It's it's the little things in life that keep us going.
Yeah, no, it's pure, absolutely popcorn fluff entertainment. I had so much fun with this movie, guys. It seems like we all did. Brady, I'm going to throw it to you first for your final thoughts on Bloodlines, and trash it or treasure this.
Yeah, it's no brainer. This is definitely treasure. You don't need a lot out of these movies. You need, like you said, solid popcorn flick. I need to get in there and I need to grimace at some kills. I need to be wowed with a little bit of creativity. What I liked about this one a lot is what Brian brought up earlier is, none of them are impossible. It's just some of them are very improbable, but could still happen. So there was nothing that I was going through where I was like, this really took me out of it in a Final Destination movie, right? Characters, I don't need them to be a lot. What I needed was for someone to be funny, which we got with Eric. And I needed some sort of connective tissue, like Brian said, and it was there. And look, we got a movie that got to send Tony Todd off in a spectacular way, a way that he deserved. Wasn't like his fucking exit in the last Candyman movie. It was really
great point
to give him the floor and the stage and pretty much be like, hey man, like this is your send off. And
well,
yes,
not to interrupt, but apparently he I could be wrong, but I've read that he improvised his final lines, which just makes it even more meaningful. It's like say what you want to say to the fans kind of thing, and that's what Tony Todd came up with. And again, this is just something I read, so I don't know if it's true, but if it is true, like wow.
But yeah, it's treasure. And I also heard that the filmmakers went to the studio and like staged a fake death as like a way to be like, hey, like we really care about this shit. And obviously it worked. I don't know all the details. I think they had like video and footage of something that they had like, spliced together. But
it was like their pitch to the studio.
Yeah.
Because there were like 200 directors that they considered or had received submissions from. And I guess the strength of their submission got them the job. Previously, they had done like the live action Kim Possible movie for the Disney Channel and stuff. Like, where did these guys come from? But anyway.
But yeah, so yeah, for me, treasure.
And Loy Sauce. Excuse me, hold on. Ladies and gentlemen, the god of podcasting himself is going to reveal if he's going to trash or treasure this movie.
He already did, though.
I already did, but I will just say a few things.
Well, do it again. Do it again, David. Do it again.
Is this a perfect movie? No. Is this a perfect Final Destination movie? Yes. This gives you the formula that we have come to know from the previous films with a few clever twists and turns, some great sardonic humor. It gives gorehounds pretty much everything they could want, although I have to say, I found the over-reliance on CGI a little distracting, especially because there are some great practical kills in the other films. For example, like if you have a head explosion, you could stage that practically. It is within the realm of possibility for a talented team of makeup and effects artists to do that. When everything becomes too digital, you lose a little bit of the stakes.
But you got the old lady. You got the old lady on fire, though. The 71-year-old
I'm not saying there were
lady.
no visual effects. I'm just saying there was a little bit too much CGI for my liking in these deaths. Hopefully, with an inevitable Final Destination 7, we can kind of have more of a mixture of practical and CGI. Also have to say, Spirit in the Sky by Noah Greenbaum should never be used in any film or trailer ever again, because I'm sick to fucking death of hearing it in everything.
It must be public domain or something. It has to be. It
has to be like $3.99 to license because you hear it in everything. Escape, the Pina Colada song. We've heard that in every movie too. I'm just like, I get there is a that's part of the joke, is that the songs are really obvious and on the nose. But stop it.
That's no, Brian. That's no.
That being said, really solid effort. I want 50 more of these.
Yeah. Lock and step with both of you. Already said it needs to be said. It was a fucking blast, man. I miss these movies. I've been saying for years, like I said earlier on, we need more of them. Make more of them. I hope they make 50 more as well. We could use them. We keep getting slashers churned out. We keep getting haunted house movies churned out. We getting everything else. Exorcism movies, demons, fucking fill in the blank, dude. Give me more of these.
This is basically a slasher movie, though.
Well, I mean, not really, because death is invisible, bro. There's no hand. Knives might be used, but no, it's totally a different vibe. And would I like to see a return to form like to the original and have it be like what Brady said, a darker, more sinister? Sure, but like at this point, I just have so much fun with this, and you can tell people in the GA also do, because the box office is going crazy. And keep making these movies. Treasure it for me, ladies and gentlemen. That is our Fresh Fright review of Final Destination Bloodlines. If you're new listening to the show, thanks for checking us out. But if you're a long-time listener, we fucking love you forever. We're all over on every podcatcher and, of course, on social media at Epic Film Guys, everywhere you'd want to or you can find us. That's it for this episode. Next will be Bring Her Back. I can't wait to talk about that one. Holy shit. All three of us have already seen that one. We're going to give it some time, though. Maybe watch it one more time. We'll see what happens, but you're going to be hearing that one soon. I'm not going to say if it's a banger or not, but you probably already know. So that's all I'll say. But once again, thanks for listening to the Epic Film Guys. I am Justin.
I'm Be Ready.
I'm Loy Sauce.
Good. Say it yourself. I'm never going to introduce you ever again. Remember that for next time, or I will pull your pants. Never mind. I'm not going to say anything further. I meant it like I was going to put never mind. It's not happening. Don't even think about it. And we'll.
Well, now I'm thinking about it.
As
now
we
we're all
always like
about
to
it.
say, keep it creepy.